Hey, what is going on everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario, and today I'm going to be showing you all this computer that I am building, will be building, and will be built by the time this video is put out. Now, this is really not an intensive gaming computer, it's not for video editing or anything. This is what I call a mom and pop build. By that I mean, my buddy Sean contacted me and he said, hey listen, my parents are thinking about getting a new computer and we want to know, what would be better, buying one or building one. I of course said building one would be better, and then we talked about it. I offered to build it, I offered to help out, and that is what's getting done. So, he gave me the money, I went ahead and ordered the parts, and right now I do not have the parts in hand yet, but in the later part of this video I will show the computer built up and such, and it running. So, what does this computer need? Well, the person who will be buying it said that they need a computer that can handle, at least 5 people using it. They need it to last a long while, and they need a lot of memory. By memory, they meant hard drive space. So, with that in hand, I went ahead and tried to build up a computer. I asked them straight up if they wanted, AMD or Intel. We decided to go with AMD as they're really good for budget builds, honestly. I prefer AMD when it comes to budget builds. I mean, hell, I only paid $47 for the CPU in here, and for what it is, it's a pretty good CPU. So we're going to go ahead and get into the parts and all that. I will show you all everything, why I bought them and such. But yeah, I think so far for the price, I think it was quite fair. Overall, it was a little over, it was like $301 after tax and shipping and everything. It was about $319 overall. So, someone's alarm went off. I don't know if you all heard that, but let's go ahead and look at the parts. For their CPU, I went ahead and went with AMD. As I said, I got an A4 4000. It is a 64-bit CPU, FM2 socket, dual core, and 3 gigahertz. I thought this would be fast enough, more than what they needed, honestly. Dual core will definitely be what they need. I didn't want to go single core, and a quad core for this would be nice for this kind of build, but it really wasn't needed. Let's just be honest with that. So I went ahead, I went with this build, and we're just going to go with the stock cooler on here, but it seemed like it would really do the job. I'm going to be using integrated graphics on here, nothing too big, and honestly, for about $47, it was not bad at all. For the motherboard, I went with an ASRock FM2 A55M-DGS R2.0. What a mouthful that is. It's just your typical run-of-the-line ASRock AMD compatible, FM2 socket compatible motherboard. The only things I had against it really, it is micro ATX, which I have nothing against, but it only has 2 RAM slots, unfortunately, but we're really not going to be beefing up the RAM on here or anything like that. And also, this is only USB 2.0 compatible. I did run this by my friend, and he said, you know what, that's fine. We don't even use USB 3. My parents aren't going to use USB 3. It does not matter. But aside from that, just a typical motherboard. Nothing too special here. I did pay a little more than I wanted to, but you know what? For $54 overall, including shipping, it'll get the job done. It should be fine. Fortunately, I couldn't really find any sales at that time, but hey, what can you do? It can also go up to 32 gigabytes of RAM. We will only be putting 8 gigabytes of RAM in there for now, which is probably more than what they need at the moment, but let's move on to that. For the most expensive component in this build, we have 8 gigabytes, just one 8 gigabyte stick of Crucial Ballistic Sport DDR3 1600 speed RAM. It is 240 pin DIMM. It is 1600 speed, as I said, 1.5 volts. The cast latency is 9. Which is why I decided to go with this. I wanted them to have a fast computer, didn't want to have them stick them with a latency of 11. Could have gotten, some some higher latency RAM technically for about $5 less, but I said, you know what, let's just go ahead and spend the $5. Now, I did run this by them, and I said, for this build, we could go with 4 gigabytes of RAM, but I'll be honest, if you all are going to be taking this build, for ages on end, probably 5-6 years, I would recommend getting 8 gigabytes of RAM. Also, this is some pretty nice RAM. It's going to be fast. You're going to be able to do a lot of multitasking here, which probably means, the CPU might be the bottleneck on here, but the CPU is good for what they need it to do. So my friend agreed with me. He said, yeah, I was actually going to ask about that. I was thinking of putting in 8 gigabytes of RAM as well, but let's go ahead and do that. So unfortunately, this is the most expensive because RAM prices are so high right now, but paid $70 for this, got free shipping and handling. Not too bad, at least for what RAM prices are right now. Let's go ahead and go on to the hard drive. Yes, I said a hard drive. I went with a Western Digital WD10EZEX. In layman's terms, that is a caviar blue 1 terabyte typical desktop size 3.5-inch hard drive running at 7200 RPM, which should be the norm. Goes up to SATA 6 gigabits a second, has a 64 megabyte cache, which should be great, very fast, and I will admit, if I am a fanboy of anything, I am a Western Digital fanboy when it comes to hard drives. I've had great luck with them, so I decided to get this for them. Now, you might be asking, why not put a solid state in there if you want a real fast computer? Well, I love solid state just as much as the next guy, but solid states still kind of have a tendency to just die, and when they die, they die. While as hard drives technically are more reliable when it comes to time. They are slower, but hey, that does not mean they are useless. So this should be more than sufficient for what they need. The space they do not need, honestly. They will not use up this 1 terabyte drive. If they do, I will be impressed, but hey, 1 terabyte for people that are not downloading anything should be more than enough. Really not sure what they needed all the hard drive space for, but hey, they requested a lot of space. They thought 1 terabyte would be suitable. We're going to go ahead and go with that. And for $60, that's not too bad for what it is. For the case, I went with a Roswell brand Ranger M, all capital right there, micro ATX mini tower case. For what it is, I am actually very excited to get my hands on this case, but it is just a simple micro ATX case. It has 2 fans in there and at least 1 or 2 blue LED lights. So those 2 fans coupled with the stock cooler that I will be getting for the CPU, it's going to provide more than enough cooling for this build, so I don't have to go out and spend more money on the fans and whatnot. This should be fine. It is a $50 case. It got knocked down to $40, and I had a $15 off promo code that I was able to use, bringing this case down to $25. And with Roswell, it got, you know, for what it was, a basic case, got quite good ratings. And I do trust Roswell when it comes to brands. I will say, one thing many people do is they like to cheap out on cases, and I learned the hard way, do not cheap out on a case. I had a very bad experience with that recently. So now I kind of decided I am going to spend, you know, the extra $20, $30 getting a nice case that will look good, that will have, you know, proper build quality to it, and that will actually last and stuff won't get stuck in there and stuff won't break. So with this, I mean, I felt like with everything that came in it seemed great. As I said, don't need to buy any extra fans, and it comes with lights, which do make a computer look better and a bit more expensive. I mean, let's just be honest, that is the truth there. For the PSU or power supply unit, I got an Antec Basic with a Q, not a C, 350 watt ATX power supply. Now, one thing I would like to recommend with this site is that because this is an ATX 12 volt power supply and the motherboard I'm getting is that, I did not mess up with that, thankfully, because this site does have a compatibility feature which will filter out what will work for your computer and what won't. Pretty much if you pick a component and then you search for another component, it is only from then on going to find components that work with one another and that will not give you an issue. Going back to the power supply, there's nothing really to talk about with this. It is a gray power supply. That is how prestigious this is, but this is more than enough power for what they need. It is 350 watts. And PC Part Picker predicts that this whole build is going to take up about 154 watts of power. So they did not need a real big gaming power supply. They didn't need anything 500 watts. 350 is more than enough. And it is by Antec, which I do trust. So this thing is not going to be heating up, I hope. And it should last for a long while, because PSUs should be the last thing to die on a computer, if anything dies. Now the last component, which is probably the least important and the one that will be used the least, I'll be honest, I saved the pretty much worst one for last, is the DVD burner I put in. You might be thinking I put in something really cool since I've worked with iHas drives and I've modded Xboxes and all that, but I got a Samsung drive. It burns CDs. It burns DVDs. It was $15. And I have spent way too long talking about a damn DVD burner in 2014. Let's go ahead and look at the computer. Alright, just saying, shout out to Amazon for pretty much doing the worst job possible packing all this stuff. Right here I got the case, and I don't have all my parts. I gotta wait like a day or two. Today's Tuesday at the moment, and my parts are supposed to come in by latest Thursday. The 2 parts I'm missing are literally the most important and the least important components. The motherboard and the DVD drive were packaged together, and they went through FedEx. I hate FedEx so much, but they went through them. So literally the most important important and the least important parts were packaged together. But, okay, check this out. Got the CPU. This thing, like, it's loose in there. And then they put this, like, Amazon threw this into some huge box that wasn't needed, and they barely packed it, so I really hope this thing works. I checked, there's no bent pins or anything. That's one thing you have to deal with when you rock AMD pins and such. Got the RAM. The hard drive, I was also mad because this was in a box with the RAM, the hard drive, and the power supply were all in a box together. But the RAM was just kind of, did I seriously hold this and say RAM? The hard drive was just kind of thrown in there as well. So I took it out, I checked, it's not, I don't hear any broken platters. It doesn't sound like sand, but I'm still, they should have done a better job. That's what I'm trying to say. And the power supply, okay, I'll admit the power supply can take a beating, but it's better if it doesn't. And then I got an anti-static wrist strap, which I forgot I even had this, so it was kind of sitting in my apartment. But I dug this up yesterday, so I'll be using that just in case, because, this cold weather, you can't really, be coming in with all this static and such all over you and then touch a computer. You just really can't do that, so I like to be safe. You can build a computer without that. I'd rather spend the $3 getting one of those and just make sure I don't shock anything. But also right here, check this out. This case is so cute. Like, seriously, it is small. Hold on. Let me get something to compare. I can't even talk. Let me get something to compare it to. Okay, guys. Seriously, look how small this thing is. I took a regular, just like a fat Xbox I had on hand. But look how small this case is compared to the Xbox. Well, I mean, it's bigger, but still, like, it just, for a case, it's small. I'm used to bigger cases with my PCs. But, yeah, this is the Roswell case, so I guess, really, for now, there's not much I can do, but let's go ahead and move this out of the way. I'll go ahead. We got this right here, just the fan power. There's no LED on that. I'm trying to see where the other LED is. It's going to be somewhere here. But at least this thing does have LEDs on it. It might just be one set of LEDs built in this fan. And we got the power for the LEDs. We got the fan hookup here as well. So really what I can do, I'm going to throw in the power supply, gonna hook in a, well, the only hard drive in there. And with the rest, with the RAM, the CPU and such, I really have to wait for the motherboard to come in. So guess we'll be waiting on that. Alright guys, so got the power supply tester right here, and I just wanted to show you all this real quick. I paid $15 for this on Newegg. This is actually my second one. This one I personally own. I bought it just because, I work on computers so often that I figured, I'd have to test power supplies and such a decent amount. And then right here, got the actual power supply hooked up. But I have a second one of these as well. I got this from, well, my second one I purchased through work, and it is over in my office right there, just because, sometimes I have bad power supplies. Figured this way I could definitely test them, see what exactly is wrong, compared to just testing them by hand, which can sometimes be annoying and painful. But all you do is really you hook up every single component of the power supply. It works on pretty much all of them. So I have the 20 and the 4 pins right here. I have the Molex SATA power. This thing is honestly escaping me right now. I can't even think of the name, to be honest. And then the ATX 12 volt port right here. It also has, places for PCI and such. So let's go ahead. We have all the tests here. Well, it's off because there's no power, but let's go ahead and cut the power on this. There we go. Within 2 seconds, let me go ahead and focus in so you all can see this. But as you can see, everything passed on here. There we go. That's exactly what I want, because I don't have a motherboard to try this on yet, a spare motherboard, and I don't really feel like using my computer, so this thing says the power supply is good. That's great, at least. Now what I'm going to do before I go to sleep, I'm going to go ahead and set up that 1 terabyte drive on my desktop, write zeros to it, and make sure that works fine in the morning. This time everybody's telling me to be strong. It's hard to be strong, and this shit is so wrong. Want me to get up and move on, and know that you're gone.
this time everybody's telling me to be strong, but you know it's hard to be strong when the shit is so wrong. Wanted me to get up and move on, even know that you're gone. I feel so twisted, I need this weight lifted off my shoulders, cause every day without you turns colder, and all the wasted minutes get me down. I feel all the hours torn apart, and now I'm rushing on it, now it's over.
You know, one of the best damn feelings in life is when you put everything together in a computer and you turn it on and the first time it just works. That's it. Everything works the way it's supposed to. Turn it on, show the BIOS screen, and there we go. The hard drive is blank on here, which is why it is showing that message, which some of you might not have seen, but I didn't show all the build. Realistically, I had about 20 minutes of footage, and then after that, it was really boring. I just hooked up all the cables here. I put in the hard drive, I put in the DVD drive. Those are the lights right there, by the way. And I know it doesn't look that nice right now. This case doesn't allow for very good cable management, but I just plugged everything in and gave it power to make sure it worked. Once I get Windows installed on it, I will go ahead and clean up all this because I don't want to give my buddy a rat's nest, but you know, let's go ahead, make sure the damn thing works. So, I'm gonna go ahead, pop in our copy of Windows 7 right here, and this is actually an ISO that I made. I took an official ISO, and then I went ahead and, what did I do? Put on all the updates and stuff. Alright, so, press a key, it recognizes right there. If I can get it zeroed in, you know what, I'm just gonna do this, there we go. Alright, it's reading the disk right here. It's loading. There we go. Okay, time to install Windows. All right, beautiful. Just beautiful. All right, that is honestly one of the greatest feelings in life. There we go. Kinda. Okay. But yeah, that's about it. So this has been the build. Realistically, probably took about, to put everything together, less than 40 minutes. Half that I got on film, the other half was just the most boring part. It's me, you know, I had to open up this side panel here, but I had to screw in the drives, both drives from this side. Everything is here, so power supply is working fine. We got 2 fans, we got the CPU with the fan in there. We got all the proper hookups, 8 gigabytes of RAM, the hard drive, the DVD drive. We're good to go. Just this nice little basic computer. I'm gonna go ahead and install Windows, get everything set up, and we'll be good to go. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario, signing off. Thank you for watching, everyone.
Don't know what's going on, what's right from wrong, and all this time everybody's telling me to